Hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our NCO webinar. It's great to see some of you here and not sitting in the sunshine and joining us for our webinar. We really hope we're going to have an informative and fun discussion today with for amazing parents of remarkable young musicians who are all doing different and varied things. So they're going to introduce themselves in a minute. We'll have some polling and some voting for you to join in, and we'll also have a chance for some questions at the end. So there's a Q&A button if you want to put any questions in there. We'll probably come to those towards the end of the session. I'm going to hand over to Tamsin now, who's going to introduce her. Oh, by the way, I'm Kath Arledge. I'm the Artistic and Educational Director of NCO, and I'm hosting this conversation today. And over to you, Tamsin.
Hello everybody, I am Tamsin. I am Head of Engagement for NCO, so I get to do lots of really fun projects and really great conversations with partnerships. I get to look at how children are engaging with NCO, who isn't engaging, how can we support music happening in local areas, and I'm really pleased to be here to meet everybody and to see what our parents and all the challenges our parents think.
Great. So I'm going to ask our guests to introduce themselves with a little bit of a screen share of who they are. And the questions I'm going to ask all of them is, where are you from in the country? What are your children or child, what is your child doing now in terms of their musical journey? And then finally, tell us just a little bit about the journey. So, hang on, sorry, I seem to have... So, Caddy, you're first off. Tell us a little bit about your children.
So I'm from Nottingham. All the children grew up in Nottingham, and it's always difficult for me because I can talk about them as a group. So all of them have gone and done music to an advanced level. So shall I just start with each one? I'll go as quickly as I possibly can. So Aisha is now 28. She graduated from the Royal Academy of Music and did a postgrad there as well. And now she's a concert pianist. Tomorrow she's opening the Proms. So she's very much on her way. Bryma graduated, he's now 26. He graduated from the Royal Academy of Music, and he's now a violinist and goes around the world playing. Sometimes they play in trios, sometimes in a group, and sometimes soloists. The next one in age is Sheku, who he also went to the Royal Academy of Music, and he's a part-time professor there now, and also is a performing cellist. Then we've got Konya, who also went to the Royal Academy of Music. She's a pianist, but also plays the violin, as you can see in their ensemble quite a lot. Then we've got Jennifer, who broke the mold and went to the Royal College of Music, and she graduated a couple of weeks ago. She's a pianist and very much on her way. She's just signed to Sony, and she definitely is going to be a professional pianist. Then there is Aminata. Now she's my 18-year-old. She plays the violin, and she is the first one who's not going to go to a conservatoire. So she's going to go to drama school in September and wants to be an actor, although she'll carry on with her violin. And then the youngest is true to form. She's Mariatu. She's 15, and she definitely wants to be a cellist and definitely wants to go to conservatoire. So we'll see what happens. That's the story. Oh, the journey. The journey was that we thought we'd just introduce them to music and see what happened. We had no idea that they would become musicians or professionals or anything like that. It was all about letting them play music, enjoy it. We thought it was really good for them. It made them very close as children. They played together, and everything that's happened has been an accident. We're not musicians ourselves. So it's all been a fascinating let's say adventure.
Great. Thank you so much, Caddy. Right, next up is Fargan. Tell us about your children.
Yeah, so we're from London, though we do have northern roots. My wife's from Bradford, and Ishan's the older one, Nen's the younger one. Ishan started NCO relatively late, when he was doing his grade 7, grade 8, and I suppose the important thing there was it was his piano teacher who mentioned to him about, oh, there's an opportunity at NCO. It was too late to apply to NCO that year, so we went to a different orchestra and then applied the year after. And Ishan did regionals for 3 years before doing the mains in there. So yeah, when you talk about success and later on, actually it's not all about being high flying and being amazing. There is some hard slog and just enjoying the different opportunities there. Nayan started playing the trumpet because the trumpet was at home. It was just sat there, and he tries to do everything his brother does and tries to do it better. He, annoyingly for Ishan, Nayan got into the under 10s and was in the under 10s for 3 years, so straight away. But Ishan will admit now that Nayan is better at playing the trumpet, but there's a lot of rivalry there, and that's quite a big part of the push there between the two of them. Ishan is currently doing physics and molecular physics and chemistry at Imperial, so not a musician. Nayan's doing GCSEs. He's umming and ahhing whether he wants to be a musician or not. So up to now, it's always been, I want to be a musician. He's now discovered he likes science and is follow his brother in doing sciences. We shall see where their journey takes them there.
And what was the journey like for you as non-musician parents, supporting the boys?
So I think we're very blessed because actually it was the teachers and the people surrounding us who advised us on what to do. As I said, it was his piano teacher, who was an ex-NCO member, who told us about NCO. And then, just talking to people and talking to other parents who'd been through that journey and said, oh, there's this opportunity, that opportunity. There's a lot of information on the internet if you start Googling to see what you do. And then we're sort of lucky because we got involved in Chineke Juniors as an orchestra, and both Ishan and Nayan had huge opportunities through Chineke Juniors to do various things. So like the Canon Masons, the Britain's Got Talent, they had an opportunity to do that. And proms and things like that. So it was just, we stumbled along. I think as Katie was saying, we stumbled along and just found different opportunities to do stuff. And I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but lockdown was actually quite a blessing in disguise because they were older. They could, we did lots of musical activities over lockdown, which gives us time to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And next up is Alex Gray. Catherine, tell us a little bit about Alex's journey.
Yeah, so Alex has just finished his first year studying trumpet at the Royal College of Music in London. He was in NCO for 3 years. I think he joined in the under 12, so just as he started high school. He kind of stumbled upon the trumpet, really. Well, he started off on the cornet. With whole class music lessons in year 4. We're from Suffolk, and Suffolk has an amazing music service and still offer now lots of whole class music lessons to children in sort of year 3, 4, 5. And I'd sort of said to Alex, well, see how you get on. If the trumpet's not your instrument, we can look at something else. Show me that you're going to do some practice. You don't have to do loads, 10 minutes a day is fine, kind of thing. And I just assumed everybody picked up their cornets and trumpets and could make a sound and play them, but it turns out they couldn't. And it was just a happy accident that Alex really could, and he fell in love with it very quickly. And then because Suffolk had such a sort of well set up music service, he quickly joined their music school on a Saturday. And then they were the ones really that kind of guided us as to what would happen next. So sort of shaped how his lessons would look and encouraged him to join different orchestras and bands, so they sort of had a well-established progression route. So he did that for a number of years alongside NCO, and then joined Chet's for year 10, and so went to Chetham's in Manchester for the last 4 years of his schooling, because by then it was quite clear that that was just what he wanted to do, and it was all about the trumpet.
Amazing. One lovely thing about Alex is because he's at the Royal College now, he's done a student placement with us at NCO, and he's been taking that's him taking a brass sectional just a few weeks ago at one of our projects orchestras. So it's a great thing when it comes full circle and they come back so quickly. Support the next generation. And actually I think this generation of musicians are very motivated by that. I think the sort of social impact of being able to give back, I think is a real thing for young people, and I think it was super to have him back in that capacity as well. And so last up we have Jordan. Shana, tell us about Jordan.
Okay, well, we're from Cambridge, and myself and my husband are both musicians, so it was just natural for him to start on the piano when he was quite young, age 5. And he did quite well on piano, but I didn't think he was going to be particularly good musician because he really couldn't sing. Um, so yeah, I've got a lovely video of him playing Twinkle Twinkle on the piano and singing at the same time, and it just was not the same notes at all. But
Have you
obviously,
shared that publicly ever? Was that?
I have actually. I did ask him first. He said it was okay. Yeah, but he did show some potential on the piano, but he wanted to move on to drum kit. So which he did quite. I think he was 7 when he moved on to drum kit. And did really quite well on that. And that's when my husband suggested he applied for NCO. But of course, for NCO, it needs to be not just drum kit, it needs to be other percussion, tune percussion. He hadn't done any of that yet. So that's when the pair of them decided to make a xylophone, just so he had something to practice on. So he did his first NCO audition, having practiced on the homemade xylophone, and got up to about a grade 5 piece. I think he managed to pull together. But yeah, he got in the under 10s.
Wow.
I can't remember whether there was an under 10s then actually, but he got in anyway. And he did 5 years with the NCO. Had a wonderful time. So yeah, he did that. He did then go to junior conservatoire, because we did struggle with finding a tune percussion teacher in this area. And he's currently at Birmingham Conservatoire, having nearly not decided he wasn't going to do music until he won the BBC Young Musician, and then he thought, no, actually I need to go and do music. So he's currently just done his 2nd year at Birmingham.
Yeah, great, fantastic. Thank you so much. And what's it like carrying all the instruments around?
It's very difficult. It takes a lot of consideration, a lot of thinking, and it's been quite an experience actually, because none of us really thought about it that much, and he doesn't actually own all the instruments he needs, so we have to find, we have to source them, to hire them, then we have to get them from A to B, and usually we have to hire a van, and
Wow.
it's a lot of hard work. We can't get the marimba out of the house without disassembling it completely and then reassembling it, and it's all very heavy, and I think he needs groupies, not us, actually. I keep saying, pay your friends a £5 to help you, I keep saying, but I don't seem that keen.
And here's a couple of them on Alex and Jordan there, who were on a webinar earlier in the year with us, giving some tips and tales from their time in NCO to the newbies. So it was the very first webinar we did of the year to welcome the new intake of NCO. So it was lovely to have them with us there on that. And just before I come out the screen share, I just wanted to tell you about the page on our website about supporting musical learning, which we've tried to pull together loads of resources, loads of trust, foundations, roots, that Tamsin will talk a little bit more about maybe later, but it's there on the website. So just before I leave that, I just said I would share that with you, so it's a point of reference afterwards. So I'll come out of that now, and there we go. Brilliant. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to launch a poll just to find out from the parents who are out there why you think it's important that your children make music. Okay, so why is it important to you that your child participates in musical activities? And I think you can, I'm not quite sure, but I think you can have as many as you like on this, I hope. So I think panelists can vote too if you want to. Someone try and see if you can. Sorry?
It says
you can't. Oh, sorry. Okay, well, just put the most important one if you can, and if it's not too late. This is going to be interesting. So we've got 32 parents out there, or 30 people who can vote. Can I vote? No, I don't think I can vote. So we've got, how many have we done? We've got 16 in so far. Getting there. Oh, it's really interesting. The poll is going up, and there's only two out of the 5 that people have voted for, unless I'm not looking. Oh, no, it's not. There's a few more down there. Sorry. There's about 3. Okay. For anybody who's voted something else, just put it in the Q&A, and we'll come back to that. So I'm going to end the poll now, and we're going to share the results of that. So the results are that 50% of you says it teaches important life skills like discipline, communication, and teamwork. That's the most popular reason. The second most popular, it brings a sense of community and belonging and meaning, which is really nice. It's the thing they love to do most, 15%. So that's really interesting. Nobody said it's fun. Nobody said it helps their other learning, but we know it does all those things. Actually, nobody said they may one day want to be a musician, which is really interesting. We might come back to that. In the Q&A, somebody said because it's about balancing academic learning with arts creativity, and now he loves it. That's great. It is all about balance, isn't it? And all those different things. Thank you. That's a really lovely way to get a feel of who's in the space and what you think. Okay, so I'm going to come to the first topic we're going to talk about. We've got 5 short topics. First of all, motivation, practice, and well-being of the young people as they're practicing and journeying on. Can I start, Caddy, with you on motivation?
Yes, I mean, we introduced the children to music because we thought that's kind of what you do. It's an important part of something you do that just makes you a whole person. We both had music education at our state schools when we were children, and it was something that we found was really important for us. And it meant that we could join the school orchestra, we could just do something that meant that I suppose that gave us a sense of we could be praised for. It gave us a sense of achievement, and also we thought it was really good for their minds. So we just started them off with music, and they really loved it. And they said, "Oh, we want to do really well." And we said, we thought it was really important to be honest with them and say, if you want to actually play this instrument well, you have to practice. You can't just say, "Oh, this is fun, I'll just play it when I feel like it." And so we had to be quite disciplined about it. And maybe it's because we had more than one child, but we had to be very organized. We had to have a sense of routine. And I think because they saw each other practicing, it made that routine quite easy to institute. But maybe if you're a parent of lots of children, you kind of have to have routine in order to survive every day. So it was probably that as well. But we found that really worked. But I always think it's important to remember that I don't think children naturally have an idea that they want to practice. I mean, we had like one child, whenever she knew it was time for her to practice, we would never be able to find her. And then we worked out she was hiding under the dining room table. So it's not a simple thing. You have to be yourself quite organized. No child is going to say, "Yippee, let's play." It's not like that every day. They're human like the rest of us. So.
Jana, what was that like for Jordan practice?
Well, he was actually really motivated. We didn't have to nag him too much about it. I mean, obviously we only had the one. I can't imagine having 7 percussionists trying to practice. But yeah. What was hard was getting him to practice what might be more useful. He loves sort of banging away on the drums to backing tracks and things like that. And but he would never do like the scales and the exercises and those kind of things. So that took just a bit of, do a few of those first and then you can do that bit kind of thing. But he was always very motivated. After a day at Junior Conservatoire, as soon as we got home, he was straight on it again, having done it all day. So yeah, we didn't have much trouble.
What about you, Catherine? How was Alex?
Yeah, fairly motivated like Jordan. But he was a young child when he started, sort of 8. So I'd sort of said, well, if you're going to do this, you're not going to just be able to play the cornet and then the trumpet. It's difficult, so you've got to do a little bit. And so there was sort of an expectation when he started that he did a little bit a few times a week. He actually, talking about this, was remembering that the reason he suddenly got good was because actually he'd been banned from his Xbox and his cornet was in his bedroom. And he said, so I just spent that weekend just playing all the pieces in the book. And then he was like, oh, I can really do this. So that was quite motivating. but he still needed, reminding to practice. And we did have debates, I remember really well. He was still at primary school, especially in the holidays. Well, if you want to go and see your friends or you want to go on the Xbox, you need to do your music practice first. And I quickly realised that first thing in the morning, my poor neighbours, but was quite a good time to just get it out of the way, because then he'd sort of done it, and then we weren't trying to pull him away from something else later. But then once he got on with it or into it, he was fine. And again, like to sort of give himself a little concert. So as he got better, and probably when he got to a sort of grade 5-ish, towards the end of primary school, then I did sort of have to say, well, look, you're going to have to do a few scales. You need to do this, break these pieces down a bit, because it was then that he was suddenly like, oh, okay, I can't just play everything that's put in front of me. Because again, you don't just instantly or naturally know how to practice. So, a little bit of cajoling, but thankfully not too much.
Fargan, you said there's some competition between your boys in terms of their trumpet playing. Did that help motivate them, or what was that like?
Probably not. Well, it didn't help in terms of them doing practicing in that sense. There was definitely the competition. What we found with Nayan, the younger one, is actually new music. So eBay was my friend, or is my friend, because if I buy new music, they pick up the trumpet and try and play it. Whereas if it's got a bit boring and it's stale, then they that didn't work. I think the other thing is just having lots of activity. So when they got something to aim for, then they would practice if there's a concert coming up or something coming up. And one of the things we found was the post grade 8 blues. I want to mention that. So they've done the grade 8 and then there's nothing there and they weren't really that interested in doing diploma or something like that. So then there's this hiatus of what do we do? And you have to find something interesting and fun to do. But I think the nice thing about the trumpet is once you get a certain standard, there's so many different genres of music you can play. So it's not just classical, you've got the jazz and all the different things. So there's always something to participate in. And that made a difference for us.
Great, thank you so much. Moving on to our second topic now, which is teachers. Was it kind of random how you started, or did you pick teachers for your children, or did you ever have any awkward moments of changing teachers? Or should I go to you, Kelly? You look like you were feeling that as I said it.
It was definitely random to begin with, and then I'm not going to name any names, obviously, but we had some situations where it was just really lucky coincidence that the teacher was amazing, and so the child was motivated and it worked really well. And we had some instances where it was pretty much a disaster. And then it's really difficult because as a parent, you think, well, this is not working. It's because of a personality or because the two sides want different things, or it's just, or the child isn't progressing. And then you have to step in and end it. And that's really hard because, of course, you've got people's feelings involved and it always seems like an insult. And I remember once I just kept whichever child it was with their teacher for far too long, and they were suffering and not progressing because I was too embarrassed, and I just thought it's just rude and it was impolite and I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And then I learned actually it's not worth it for anybody to do that. And also teachers react differently. I had one teacher who was really gracious and really lovely and said, it's great, they'll go on and do something else with another teacher. And then I had a teacher who hasn't spoken to me since. And I think you just have to accept that it can go either way, do your best. And in the end, your child is the most important thing.
How was that for you, Shana, in terms of percussion teaching?
That all sounded very wise. But yeah, we struggled to find a tuned percussion teacher, as I said, just in this area. We were lucky that he really clicked with the drum teacher at school, so drums was fine. He actually stayed with him right the way through school, and until he'd finished his GCSEs. But the tune percussion, we just couldn't find anybody, so we did end up going down a junior conservatoire route because that was the only option. Yeah. But I think that's probably quite different because percussion is there are less teachers around, aren't there? Yeah. And the ones that are around are very full, and but once we got him in the conservatoire system, then everything was Hunky Dory.
So did you travel? Where did you travel to for that?
We went to London. He started at the junior academy, and then he moved to the junior college halfway through.
Wow. Great. What about you, Fagan? What about teachers? What's your journey been with different teachers?
Well, I think we just fell into it. So I should mention that Nain also plays the flute, and they both played the piano. So we just fell into the teachers that they had at school originally, and then naturally, when Ishan changed schools, he moved and had a different teacher at his senior school. And teachers make a huge difference, because actually this second teacher and him didn't necessarily click. It was a different type of relationship, and I think that's sort of one of the reasons why perhaps Ishan did pull away from the trumpet. Whereas with Nayan, there's natural progression. He went to one of the conservatoires, junior conservatoires, and again, and here their junior the trumpet teacher at the primary school is a musician first, plays in the BBC Symphony Orchestra, and a teacher second. But he knows everybody, so he helped us find the next teacher, and it was very helpful to say, okay, yes, here's somebody who can help you. So I think we've sort of been lucky, but we do find that the teacher makes a difference. So, for example, at the moment, Nayan's flute teacher is really sort of, I suppose, developing him. Nayan's like progressed on the flute more, and he wants to play the flute with NYO this year rather than the trumpet. So that's his target. So it's interesting that he's decided that. And that's the first time ever that the flutes always come first rather than the trumpet. So we shall see.
Gosh. So we've got a question now from somebody out there. How do you make the decision to go down the junior conservatoire route? So a lot of you have done that. Did Alex went to Chet's, didn't he? Catherine, no, you didn't do that. No. Okay, but the rest of you did. Caddy, why don't you start on that? What made you decide to go down the conservatoire route?
I think it also depends where you live and what teachers are available in your area. So for us, it seemed like we needed the next level, or the next step, and we found the obvious thing to do was to go to the junior conservatoire route, because it was either that or it would be boarding school or something, or we didn't want to do that. So and for us it worked out brilliantly. I mean, obviously it didn't work out brilliantly in the sense that we had to be up at 5 in the morning on a Saturday, going all the way to London. But for them, it was the best day of their week. They absolutely loved it, and they got the teachers that they needed. So it was fantastic. But I think going to what Fagan was saying as well, is that word of mouth and talking to other parents is really important, about not just finding teachers, but for all sorts of reasons. So we found the junior conservatoire was brilliant, because we were just in the cafe all day with all these other parents, and we could ask them, we could find out about things, we could find out about teachers, courses, ideas, what it means to be a musical parent, and it was fantastic. So that sense of community meant a huge amount to us.
To add it on to that question is, what is the criteria for going? So I should just say that they're auditioned, aren't they, the junior conservatoires, and there's some attached, I think, to every conservatoire there is out there. There's a junior department, so it depends where you live and where you want to go. And
isn't there a problem with the Royal Welsh? Aren't they going to be forced to come?
Yes, that's in consultation at the moment. You're absolutely right there. But yes, it is a good route to go, and it's an option, it's a choice, isn't it, depending on where you go. Great. So the next topic is grading.
Catherine, just to add to that, I think one thing about the conservatoires, the junior conservatoires, was the opportunity to play with other musicians at a high standard. So you may have a fantastic musician, but everybody around them. So it does pull them up a bit in terms of the quality of playing and the competition. Going back to the previous thing about motivation for studying yesterday, the competition against each other helps, and the friendships that they make with other musicians. So often at school, music isn't necessarily cool compared to playing sports, the rest of it. So having that other people who enjoy music playing, who are also sporty, but having that sort of camaraderie, I think makes such a big difference.
Can I bring you in, Tamsin, now, in terms of what other choices there might be? So we've got Alex, who went to Chetham's, to a specialist music school, and we've got the others who went to junior conservatoires. What other choices, if you didn't want to do either of those, or you didn't have access to either of that, what other routes might there be?
It's very area dependent. So the best starting point, if you don't already engage with your local music hub. So different music hubs deliver in different ways, but they are always a really great place to start because they are an absolute font of local knowledge. So even if they are not delivering huge numbers of ensembles, they will know the local organisations that are delivering those and will be able to put you in touch with appropriate level of performance opportunities as well. They're also the local knowledge for additional funding. So if you feel that you'd need additional support, so maybe you're managing lessons now, but if you think that your child might want to do more or things like that, then your music hubs will also be able to guide you in discovering local pots of money that can support families to access things as well. There are also organisations such as Future Talent and Young Sounds UK that offer bursaries and opportunities and additional music making opportunities. And they are starting to offer those more widely across the country as well. So the other part, so some of the junior departments are what are called centres for advanced training, but they aren't limited to just being at junior departments. So there are other organisations. So the Yorkshire Young Musicians, for example, is not based in a junior college or a junior department, but would be able to offer that next level. So that's government funded. It provides supplementary funding for specialist music tuition and additional ensemble music making. So those are just a couple of the places that you could start those conversations, and they might just put you in touch with the next stage or the next person. And your instrumental teachers that your children have are also really, really great fonts of knowledge. So really use, even if it's just a few people around you at the moment, just to get those little hooks. And also organisations such as NCO and NYO and National Youth Choirs, we're always really, really, really happy to receive emails and have conversations with parents, even if they are not members of ours. We're really open to supporting young musicians to make music. So do reach out and speak to people because we're always really happy.
Thank you, Tamsin. That's brilliant. Okay, I'm going to
Can
share.
I just mention one more suggestion? So if they play brass instruments, that most areas do have a local brass band, and they're dying for new players and performers, and they're trying to, encourage some brass bands don't die out. So again, just reach out. There will be something local who may just offer you free opportunities, very cheap opportunities to play with high caliber, musicians.
Yeah, there is a real thing, isn't there, about playing with people at your same level, I think, and that's a bit like going to compete in the Olympics. Everybody gets better because of that sort of cross-fertilization of those people. Anyway, we've got another poll: supporting young musicians. Which of the following do you find the most challenging? And I think you can only vote for one, I'm afraid. So is it motivation and practice, how to know what's best, how to find out what's available, the cost, concerns about inclusion, or anything else that you can put in the chat if you want to? So well done. It's all whizzing up. The definite leader, which is really interesting, actually. Okay, I'm going to final chance to vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's share the results. The results say that how to know what's best is the hardest. That's really interesting, isn't it? But there's other things are hard too. So in second place, it's the cost. And joint third place, it's motivation and practice and how to find out what's available. Which Grace sort of brings us on to another couple of topics really quite neatly. So grade exams and competitions, that comes into the what's available, and then ensembles and opportunities a little bit. So leading on from that, could we kind of spin that in? Let's talk about grade exams and competitions. How do you know what's best for your children in terms of grade exams and competition? Should I go to you, Shana, first?
Well, for Jordan, I think, grades and the competitions were absolutely his thing. He loves performing. And so, yeah, it really worked for him. I remember one day he said, "Oh, I can't wait for next week." And I was, "Oh, well, what's happening next week?" And he's, "Oh, I've got my grade 5 drum kit exam." He was Yeah, which is very, as a music teacher myself, I've never seen that in my pupils. So I know that there is another side to it, and that, it's very individual. It depends on, each child, because some children just freeze at the prospect of having to perform to somebody else. So yeah, it's a very individual thing, I think.
Yeah. What about you, Caddy? Especially competitions.
Well, with exams, we definitely decided that was because we didn't know that much. So exams give you a sense of, you kind of know what you're aiming for, and you're taking steps, and so there's a sense of achievement. And with competitions, we thought it was a great way. We did lots of music festivals. Local music festivals were a big thing, and they teach you such a lot. And I think a lot of parents are worried about them because they think it's putting pressure on children. But actually, we thought it was a great way to learn how to perform, and it was a great way to teach the children that things go wrong. You don't win all the time, or not often, or maybe never. And you can learn to deal with, I mean, we can call it failure, but it's actually just part of the whole business of playing music. So we thought it was really important. It's not about winning and being brilliant, but it's about learning the task, learning what it's all about, which is getting up there, falling over, and getting up there again, really.
Brilliant, brilliant advice. So, Catherine, tell me about Alex and ensembles and pathways, and the options that were open to him, and how joined up was that? How effective was it?
Yeah, we were really lucky because we were kind of guided by Suffolk. So while he was still at primary school, he went on a Saturday morning with his friends, and then they were like, yeah, we think he can come on a Friday night. He did both for a bit, but then he was starting to look a bit pale. So he stopped going on a Saturday morning and just did Friday night. And when I first turned up, he was like tiny, and there were all these sort of 17 and 18-year-olds. But luckily, there were some bands to play in as well as orchestra, because I was just a bit like, you're far too little to sit in a hall with those people. And so that was really nice. There was sort of progression through that. Being Alex, he is quite a competitive kind of person, so, as well, with himself and others, I suppose. And so he made lots of friends there, and they sort of decided that they wanted to make sure that they were in their school orchestras when they went to high school, and that they were allowed to play in the bigger band on a Friday night. So they decided they were doing their grade 5, because that meant that then they sort of, we say, well, we're at that standard because you've said it's grade 5 and above, and look, we're at that standard now. So they hatched this little plan and did their grade 5s while they were in year 6, to make sure that they, were in the sort of right place for high school. And then Alex saw an advert for AYM when he went to see a concert at Snape, and was like, which is sort of like a junior department, but not at Snape Maltings. And so he joined that, and that was sort of alongside his Suffolk things, and then NCO alongside that. And then when he went off to Chet's, then he, obviously most of his music making was then at school, and because it was the trumpet, he did lots of different things, so chamber as well as orchestra, lots and lots of jazz. Alex is a big jazzer, so he did that. But he always, by then, I'd kind of got used to finding out about different things on the internet, and he obviously had lots of musical friends by then, so we found other ensembles as well. So he also got into doing a lot of pit music playing, and worked with MYMT for a couple of years as well, doing shows with them, which was great fun and very different. So yeah,
Did
it's
you
sort of
find that sort of
together.
organic? Did you find organically one thing kind of led to another, because you take a step into one world and you hear about other things, or?
Absolutely, yes. And it was that talking to other musical parents. So Friday nights, because we're quite rural, you can't kind of drop off, come home, go back. There's no public transport, so you just sort of there for 3 hours on a Friday night, make lots of friends, and then through that you discover things. He joined a brass band because they needed an extra cornet player, and one of the dads on Friday night was playing the cornet. It was like, we really need another cornet player, so he did that too. And then you just get talking to people, and you find out about things, as well as sort of looking on the internet and going, oh look, yeah, so you need to audition for this. I've never made him do anything. You can't make Alex do anything. You just sort of go, well, there's this, if you fancy it, this is what you need to do, kind of thing.
Great, fantastic. So I'm going to launch a final silly poll for us to have a little bit of fun. What did these famous figures play? Okay. So Keir Starmer, what did he play when he was young? Meryl Streep, If you just click on it, I think you can click on an answer for each of them. Bill Clinton, Albert Einstein, Emily Blunt, Ewan McGregor, and Novak Djokovic. Very topical. How are we doing? Has anyone? Ah, yes. Okay, good. People are managing to vote now. Gosh, this is going to be complicated to share the results of. Lots of different, oh, people have guessed all different sorts of things for everybody. That's great. So not many people know, which is excellent. So that's good. That's good because that means that lots of famous people were once musicians and now they're doing amazing other things. And it's obviously been part of their journey. So it's whizzing up. Just quickly while it's whizzing up, somebody said, maybe this is for you, Caddy. What's your views on specialist music schools? I hate the idea of sending my son away, especially as it would be a flight away. I have 7 children, love having them at home, but there's a real shortage of high quality music teaching. That's really difficult, isn't it?
Oh, that's so difficult. We were told with Aistra, our eldest, that the only way she was going to be able to become a pianist, which she really wanted to do, was to send her to music school. Because if we didn't do that, then she wouldn't become a pianist. And of course, the only way we could do that living in Nottingham, she would have to go and board. So she went, and she really wanted to go. She said, "Oh, I want to be a pianist." So at the age of 14, she went to Purcell School for 2 years and boarded. And we all regretted it terribly and brought her back home for sixth form. And I never did it with any of the other children because I think what you lose is family life. And yeah, we thought you can actually become a musician and not go away to a music school. Absolutely not at all. And I think we just felt that you just lose too much. But that whole problem of not having local music teachers, we solved that by going to Saturday music school. That's how we did it.
But obviously, Catherine had a very different experience of Chet's and a very positive one of a music boarding school.
Yes, and we were a bit surprised that it all happened very, very quickly. I think he had some friends at NCO who already went to Chet's, and then he got talking to them, and he just wanted it was more to do with his schooling really, and the whole of his schooling to reflect his musical interests, and that was just the right thing for him. And then he made these friends, and I think he thought, oh, actually maybe it could work. We went to look around thinking he'd go for sixth form. It must have been in like May. He went in the September. It was very, very sudden, and we were very lucky that it worked out in the way that it did. It was the right thing for him. It was going to be that or junior department in London, but the trains weren't really behaving. So although Suffolk's not far from London, it was going to be really difficult to get him there every Saturday. I think we would have had to drive him. And he's got a younger sister, and I wasn't really sure that was how that was going to work. So obviously it meant he was away, but he came home lots. It worked out, yeah, in the end. Nothing's perfect, but for us that sort of solved that problem too. And it just meant his school day reflected him, which is what he wanted. It's not for everyone.
I think that's it. It's circumstantial, individual, depends on what choices you have. We were lucky because the state school that they were going to was a very musical school. So it kind of depends what, what your decisions are. It's very difficult. There's no one size fits all, I'd say.
No.
Okay, I'm going to end the poll and let's see, share the results. So, most people think Keir Starmer played the flute, but quite a lot think the saxophone. But actually, the flute is correct. 39% of you are correct. Meryl Streep, most people think played the violin, and that is absolutely correct too. Bill Clinton, most people think saxophone, and that is correct. Well done. Einstein, most people think violin, and that is correct. Emily Blunt, wild card here. Only 2% got it right. She played the cello. Ewan McGregor, really interestingly, you've got this right. I'm not sure I would have got this right. French horn. He used to play the French horn. And Novak Djokovic played the saxophone as well. And he's got a little band, hasn't he? He did a great thing at Wimbledon. Did you see him do his little violin thing at Wimbledon for his... Look, Google it. It's very sweet. His daughter's learning to play the violin. So when something really good happened, he got his tennis racket and he did a little bit of a violin thing. So that was all excellent. Great. We're running out of time. In fact, we've run out of time. Very quickly, let's just spend 2 minutes on the thorny subject of money. Okay. Money and cost and expense. How has anybody had any success in generating scholarships, bursaries, funding for this journey? Fargan, have you had any success in that department?
We've not tried, to be very honest. I think most, I know NCA used to do scholarships with the Leverhulme Scholarship and moved to bursaries, which I think is the right thing, so it's means tested. I think when we were looking at Ghanaian, one of the things we found is actually the US universities seem to have a lot more funding for that compared to the UK universities. That is a choice that we're thinking about with Ghanaian, that potentially US, but you know, then the whole distance traveling and etc. that we've got to worry about. From our perspective.
What about Shana? What about instruments and all that kind of cost and expense of being a percussionist? Have you found any support for Jordan in that way?
I mean, I have tried, but we just seem to fall in the middle. We don't quite make. We earn too much, but we haven't got loads of money, but we earn too much to get any support. So I think we did get a little bit of support from our local music hub. Which I think was towards going to junior conservatoire, I think, but it was a very small amount. It was something, but it was something. But
Yeah,
we haven't had any help with instruments, which is why we ended up making a lot of them.
Gosh, but the squashed middle is a real thing, isn't it? Because you're focused on bursaries are focused very much on those with the greatest need, and there's limited money in that pot for bursaries, but it does mean that a lot of people miss out. What's been your experience, Caddy, of finding financial support for your children?
Yes, we had a problem with the squashed middle as well, and nobody cares how many children you've got or how many are playing. But it got easier as they won things or got better or got more profile, because then there are more organisations that will help you, more people that will lend you instruments. By the time we got to senior conservatoire, it was great because they all got scholarships, and that was a complete blessing, because to live in London, the maintenance loan that you get doesn't cover the costs, so they were able to use their scholarships to cover that. Without the scholarships, they wouldn't have been able to go to Royal Academy or Royal College. So it got better as they got older, but there was a time when we just thought we were going to go under. We thought we were going to lose the house, everything. It's kind of a massive risk, and it's not easy.
What about you, Catherine? Have you found any support?
I mean, we again fall into that group of we don't really qualify for any support. We did qualify for some music and dance scheme help when Alex went up to Chet, so that was good. He got a scholarship to NCO, which was just lovely to have some help. And again, now he's at college, he's got a scholarship there, and that makes a massive difference. Makes the difference, I think, between having to work in term time and to support him self-living in London, and just having his loan. And it means then he can say yes to more music making opportunities, which is why he's there, because he's not trying to fit in paid work as well, which makes a massive difference. But it is difficult, you need a lot of trumpets if you're going to do the trumpet well. They're not as expensive as stringed instruments or percussion instruments, but you seem to need a lot. Trumpet players seem to collect them and have an ever-growing list. So I think it's something we're going to have to help him out with for quite a while. So we carry on juggling.
Tamsin, do you want to just finish off by talking a little bit about the page on our website in terms of what support directions we might be able to point you in?
Yes, we have a very small selection on our website of a few avenues that you might be able to begin exploring, especially around instrument hire and loan. And I do know that lots of parents, when looking for an extra instrument, go down the hire route, because some schemes you can hire for it. I'm very sorry, my children are at home, so I'm sorry if there's noise in the background. No instruments yet. So there's a way you can hire for a certain amount of time, and then you can own the instrument, or it is a hire scheme, and then you can return the instrument at the end. But the one particular, the Universal Music UK Sound Foundation, it's a bit of a mouthful, which we do have a link to on our website, is a really great avenue to start with. Again, have the conversations with your teachers. When I was learning, I needed a new bow. I couldn't afford a new bow for my violin, and my teacher asked her friend, who asked their friend, who happened to be selling one of their bows and was happy to part with it. So again, it is that classic word of mouth. Try and reach out to as many people. Don't be afraid to ask the question, because you might be surprised who turns around and says, oh, I've got something in my cupboard. And again, utilizing the music hubs, some do have stronger music stores than others, but will be able to then start that conversation of moving things forward. So take a look at our website. I can pop the website. I have answered somebody's question. I've answered a question for Lucy Craig in the website there. So if you can see that, you can link to it. If not, we can try and pop it up somewhere. Kath, can we pop our web link somewhere helpful?
In the chat. I don't know if Becky could just pop it in the chat quickly, or you can just look at, it's on our website, join in, and then support young musicians. You can find it quite easily, I think. So if we don't manage to get it in there. And somebody's mentioned Benslow, which is a really good trust for borrowing instruments. And yeah, Becky's put it in now. So
yeah, and the link to Benslow is on our website,
on the website
as well. Yeah,
that's in the chat now. So if you want to just quickly click on that, then there you have it. Great, thank you so much to our amazing parents, Shana Caddy and Catherine and Fargan. Thank you so much for being with us and giving up the sunny afternoon to spend 45 minutes with us talking about the journey of young musicians. And your children are all amazing and an inspiration to us all. And there's so much support that goes on behind the scenes, isn't there, that isn't seen when they stand up and do their remarkable things. So here's a big shout out to all parents out there who are supporting and ferrying and buying instruments and making instruments and hiring vans and applying for funding and whatever it is that you're all doing behind the scenes to make it all work. So yes, big shout out to all of you guys. So thank you very much for being with us, all our audience out there, and thank you to our guests. And we look forward to seeing you at NCO, some of you, and also we'll be following all your amazing adventures of your young musicians in the future. So thanks ever so much, and goodbye for now.